When it comes to playing a game, one of the biggest parts of having a fun time with it has to be with the cosmetics. Finding a cool piece of gear or a skin for your character completely changes how it feels when you're playing. Whether that's through an unlockable, a new upgrade, or a paid cosmetic, there's an inherent value to having something that changes how your character looks. That makes it more enjoyable. In this week's Rhyno Project, I wanted to dive into the world of cosmetics to figure out just why they've blown up over the years, and what developers are overlooking with them. Before I get into it, I want to say to make sure to check down below to see if you're subscribed, since it keeps you up to date anytime I post a new video. And don't forget to leave a comment letting me know what your favorite cosmetic you've gotten is. Cosmetics aren't anything new in gaming. From back in the day when everyone argued about horse armor in Oblivion to the introduction of loot boxes, they've been a hot topic for years. But rather than just saying the same things as everyone else, I wanted to share why I enjoy cosmetics at times, and what a lot of people overlook in the discussion. Cosmetics are the character skins, special armors, and unique weapons. They change how your character looks in a game, whether it's just changing a color or giving them a completely different look. Cosmetics open up the player expression. When I grew up, I played the ever-loving shit out of games like Halo 3 and Little Big Planet. I used to run around collecting the skulls to unlock the Hayabusa armor in Halo 3, with the hopes of earning that sweet, sweet katana. Back in the day, Halo 3 handled things like skins right. The problem with cosmetics over the years has been the fact that they've lost their charm. It used to be a big moment earning these armors because they were tied to achievements. In order to get the different sets, you had to complete different challenges, whether that was beating the game on Legendary to earn EOD, collecting the skulls for Hayabusa, or hitting a certain rank in multiplayer for the ODST set. They all had their own requirements to earn them. You couldn't just throw more money at the game for it. While there isn't any problem with spending a few bucks for some skins in a game like Fortnite or Apex, I think people have started to forget what makes a special cosmetic feel just that, special. Anyone who's played Halo 3 might have scoffed when I didn't mention a specific set of armor when I listed them off: Recon. And while I know I've got the biggest rose-colored glasses on whenever I talk about it, I can't help but come back to it time and time again. For those who haven't played it before, Recon was the holy grail of armor in Halo 3. You earned it by completing the challenges called Vid Masters. While other sets were relatively simple for anyone who wanted to earn them, Vid Masters were a set of extreme challenges that Bungie implemented to unlock Recon. Before this, the only way to get it was from Bungie themselves, for things like making a map or catching a creative screenshot that impressed the developers. The Vid Masters were a series of challenges across Halo 3 and ODST that tested the player's skill. The two biggest challenges for players were Annual and Endure. Annual was earned by completing the final level of Halo 3 in co-op with 4 players on Legendary. That in itself is tough, but not impossible. The real challenge came from the fact that you needed the Iron Skull on, which meant if anyone died at any point, you would get spawned at the last checkpoint. To this day, I remember this challenge. Me and my friends all sat down after a long night of close calls and yelling at one another. We finished the level, and seeing that achievement pop up was arguably more rewarding than when I graduated college. I was just a young kid at the time, and 11-year-old Rhyno beating that challenge, forever earning that achievement on July 13th, 2009, I felt like I had done the impossible. Annual was my first experience with a true challenge in gaming. It wasn't for the faint of heart, but at the end of the day, that was only one of the Vid Masters. The next challenge came from ODST. Completing the other Vid Master, Endure, required playing Firefight in Halo 3 ODST on Heroic, the second highest difficulty, with a full squad making it to the 4th wave. Once I finished those 2 achievements, I joined the extremely small group of players that had Recon. But what does this have to do with cosmetics though? I wanted to talk about Recon because when it comes to cosmetics in games nowadays, most of them are just something a player buys. Rarely do you have to earn them. You just grab your credit card and boom, you have that new skin. To this day though, whenever you see a player on something like League rocking a skin from way back in the day, you know that player has been there for a long time. Whether it's seeing someone flying in with UFO Corki or rolling up with King Rammus, you instantly know they've been playing the game for a while and their experience will match it. It's extremely similar to sneakerheads or how the fashion scene has been for a while. Someone wearing a piece of clothing from an old drop shows off that passion. While they might have bought it from another person, they ultimately knew that there was something special about them. It was hard to get their hands on, and their passion is shown with their looks. It always feels more rewarding to earn something that you can show off, rather than just getting it at the drop of a hat. I've been playing World of Warcraft on and off for years. It all started when I used to watch my brothers play when I was younger, seeing them running raids and gearing up their characters. As a kid, I always thought it was the coolest thing seeing them decked out in tier pieces, but my favorite thing was always seeing their different mounts. The big thing with mounts in WoW is that, for the most part, they're just different skins. Only later on did they start to offer unique things like extra seats or vendors as a part of them. One of my favorite mounts in all of WoW has to be Ashes of Alar. It was the first time I really saw a mount while running around that made me pause to admire it. The Phoenix leaves behind a trail anywhere it goes. It didn't need to be anything overly complicated, and the only way you could get it was by running Tempest Keat and defeating Kael'thas. At the time, getting Ashes was hard enough, with the raid being a challenge, but the mount only has a chance of dropping 2% of the time, so even if it did drop, you had to outroll the other 39 players in your raid. It was a rare sight seeing someone flying around on it, and the fact that you couldn't buy it in a shop made it that much more impressive. Before I move on, there was one more cosmetic in WoW that I wanted to talk about. While mounts were used by any class and race, there were a few class-specific cosmetics that you would see that weren't something you could just buy. During the expansion Legion, everyone was able to customize their weapons to reflect their characters in different ways, with skins for their artifacts. But before that even, Warlocks got my favorite cosmetic in all of WoW, the Green Fire Quest Chain. During Mists of Pandaria, there was a special tome that Warlocks could get that would start a series of quests. When this quest first came out, it was a ton of fun. You learned the lore of the Warlocks in Gul'dan, running through places like Outlands, utilizing all of your abilities to figure out just what was going on. The quests were straightforward at the time for the most part. The big challenge with it came from the last part of it though. You're put into a small arena where you fight Canrathod. This quest was a big challenge at the time for any Warlock going into it. You weren't able to have a party with you, it was just you and your pet. You had to juggle fighting the boss, killing mobs, and the summons that he would keep putting out, like a pit lord that you would have to enslave during the fight. Back in the day, it took me a couple hours attempting the fight over and over in hopes of completing it, until I finally understood what I needed to do. And once I slayed the boss, I handed in the quest and was given the ability to use Green Fire on my Warlock, alongside the now unobtainable title of the Black Harvest. Killing mobs with Fellfire was something that I rarely saw Warlocks doing. It wasn't something you could just buy a carry through. You had to earn it yourself, and that's what made it special. Cosmetics in games can be so much more than they are nowadays. They have the potential to show someone you're playing with or against that you're more than just the average player. When a cosmetic is made for a game, there is an insane amount of love and time put into them by the artists and designers that are tasked with creating it. Next time you load up a game and are looking at buying that cosmetic, I want you to think about what a developer could have done differently to make it more rewarding, whether that's seeing someone with a skin from Ranked or an old cosmetic that you can't get anymore. I want you to think about the story that skin has for that player. And I hope this video gives you even the smallest urge to find out just what that story is. As always, hope you have a good one. Peace.